His heart stopped the moment he saw it. I love you, sweetheart. Daddy will be home soon. Sent to his CEO. Clinton was a black single father who had spent 7 years never making a single mistake. One text to the wrong person and everything he built could disappear. Kara Ashford was known for destroying careers over less. But she didn't fire him. She showed up at his apartment that night, and what she whispered changed both their lives forever. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from today. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss stories like this one. Clinton Thompson had learned long ago that being good wasn't enough. He had to be exceptional. Every report submitted early. Every meeting attended with notes prepared. Every email triple-checked before sending. In the corporate world he navigated daily, there was no room for mistakes, especially not for a black man who had already defied expectations by rising to operations manager at one of the city's largest firms. His office sat on the 14th floor, a modest corner with a window that overlooked the parking garage. He had earned it through 7 years of 60-hour weeks, through saying yes when others said no, through missing school plays and bedtime stories. The framed photo on his desk reminded him why Linda's gap-toothed smile beaming at him from her kindergarten picture, her braids tied with the pink ribbons she had picked out herself that morning. 3 years. That's how long Lisa had been gone. A drunk driver on a Tuesday afternoon, and suddenly, Clinton was both father and mother to a 4-year-old girl who kept asking when mommy was coming home. He still remembered the last thing Lisa had said to him that morning, her voice sharp with frustration because he'd forgotten to pick up milk. They hadn't even kissed goodbye. Now his world was simple work. And Linda. Nothing else fit. That Friday started like any other. Clinton arrived at 7, reviewed the quarterly projections, and prepared for the partnership meeting scheduled for 3 o'clock. Kara Ashford, the youngest. CEO in the company's history, would be presenting, and she expected perfection from everyone in the room. Kara. Even her name carried weight in the building. At 36, she had climbed higher than anyone thought possible, not through charm or connections, but through a ruthlessness that left competitors scrambling. She never raised her voice. She never needed to. A single look from her could end careers. Clinton had worked under her leadership for 2 years, and in that time he had seen her smile exactly twice, both times during investor calls, and both times without any warmth reaching her eyes. By noon, his phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Patterson, the elderly neighbor who watched Linda after school. She's running a low fever. Nothing serious, but she's asking for you. Clinton's chest tightened. He typed back quickly. Keep her comfortable. I'll try to leave early. But leaving early wasn't possible. Not today. The partnership meeting had expanded, running 3 hours longer than planned, and Kara's questions kept coming sharp, relentless, demanding answers that required Clinton to pull data he hadn't anticipated needing. By 5:30, his phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Linda herself, typed with the careful letters of a 7-year-old, "Daddy, I miss you. When are you coming home?" Clinton glanced around the conference room. Kara was still speaking with the partners, her back turned. He had maybe 30 seconds. He typed fast, his thumbs clumsy on the screen. I love you, sweetheart. Daddy will be home soon. Send. The relief lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then he looked at the screen. The message hadn't gone to Linda. It sat in a thread he'd opened earlier that day to send Kara the quarterly report, a thread that should have been closed, a thread he never should have confused with his daughter's contact. I love you, sweetheart. Daddy will be home soon. Sent to Kara Ashford. Read. Clinton's blood turned to ice. His hands trembled as he tried to delete the message, but the option had vanished. She had already seen it. Across the room, he watched Kara pull her phone from her pocket, glance at the screen, and then nothing. No reaction. No flicker of surprise. She simply slid the phone back and continued her conversation. That was worse. So much worse. Clinton spent the next hour in a fog of dread. Every scenario played through his mind: termination, humiliation, a reputation destroyed by 3 careless words. He had seen what happened to people who crossed boundaries with Kara even unintentionally. A junior analyst had once called her by her first name in a meeting. He was transferred to the Nebraska office within a week. By 7 o'clock, the building had emptied. Clinton sat at his desk, unable to move, staring at his phone as if it might offer some escape. His finger hovered over Kara's contact, wondering if he should send an apology, an explanation, something. Before he could decide, his desk phone rang. The internal line. He recognized the extension immediately. Kara's office. His voice barely held steady when he answered. "This is Clinton Thompson." Her tone revealed nothing. "Come to my office." The walk down the hallway felt endless. Clinton's shoes echoed against the marble floors, each step carrying him closer to what he was certain would be the end of everything he had built. He thought of Linda, of the mortgage, of the health insurance that covered her asthma medication. He thought of how he would explain this to his mother, who had warned him years ago that the corporate world would find a way to break him. Kara's office occupied the entire east corner of the executive floor, all glass walls and minimalist furniture. She stood by the window when he entered, her silhouette framed against the city lights. She didn't turn around. Clinton cleared his throat. "Ms. Ashford, I want to apologize. Who is Sweetheart?" The question caught him off guard. He had expected anger, cold dismissal, perhaps security waiting to escort him out. Not this. "I'm sorry," he managed. Kara turned then, and for the first time, Clinton noticed something different in her expression. Not anger, not contempt. Something closer to curiosity, tinged with an emotion he couldn't name. "The message," she said. "Who were you writing to?" Clinton swallowed hard. The truth seemed dangerous, but lies had never served him well. "My daughter, Linda. She's 7. She was sick today, and I was trying to tell her I'd be home soon." Kara studied him for a long moment. "You leave at 5:30 every day, even when projects aren't finished." It wasn't a question, but Clinton answered anyway. "I try to. She needs me home for dinner for homework. Her mother passed away 3 years ago, so I'm all she has." Something shifted in Kara's face, a crack in the armor so brief, Clinton might have imagined it. She walked to her desk, picked up a photo frame he had never noticed before, and held it for a moment before setting it face down. "I've never received a message like that," she said quietly. "Not from anyone, not even when I was a child." Clinton didn't know how to respond. The conversation had veered so far from what he had expected that he felt unmoored, standing in unfamiliar territory without a map. Kara looked at him directly. "My parents divorced when I was 10. My father moved across the country and never looked back. My mother was too busy building her career to notice I existed. The woman who raised me was our housekeeper, and she was paid to be kind. I've never heard someone say, 'I love you,' and mean it. Not once." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and unexpected. Clinton realized he was seeing something no one else in the company had ever witnessed: Kara Ashford without the mask. "I'm sorry," he said, and meant it. "Everyone deserves to hear that." Kara's jaw tightened as if she regretted revealing so much. She straightened, and Clinton watched the walls rebuild themselves in real time. "Your work has been exceptional," she said, her tone shifting back to professional. "I expect you in the partnership meeting Monday morning. That will be all." Clinton nodded, turned to leave, then stopped at the door. He didn't know what made him say it. Perhaps the image of Linda waiting at home, perhaps the hollow look he had glimpsed in Kara's eyes. "You asked what it feels like," he said. "To hear those words and mean them." Kara didn't respond, but she didn't look away either. Clinton held her gaze. "It feels like you matter. Like someone in this world would notice if you disappeared. Like you're not just surviving, you're actually living." He left before she could reply, his heart pounding against his ribs. In the elevator, he leaned against the wall and exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. He had walked into that office expecting to lose everything. Instead, he had glimpsed something far more unsettling, the loneliness beneath Kara Ashford's perfect exterior. And something told him his life was about to change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. The following Monday, Clinton arrived at the office expecting awkwardness. What he found instead was something far more complicated. Kara called him into a meeting with the senior leadership team where she announced a new initiative, an expansion project targeting the European market. The company would be sending a delegation to London for 2 weeks of negotiations, and she needed someone to lead the operational planning. "Clinton Thompson will head the team," she said without looking at him. His performance on the quarterly review demonstrated exactly the kind of precision this project requires. The room turned to stare at him. Clinton felt the weight of their gazes, some curious, others skeptical. Promotions like this didn't happen to people like him, not without years of additional proving, not without someone vouching from the inside. After the meeting, he caught Kara in the hallway. "Why me?" She kept walking, her heels clicking against the marble. "Because you're the best person for the job." "That's never been enough before." Kara stopped, then turning to face him with an expression that bordered on impatience. "Are you questioning my judgment, Mr. Thompson?" "No, I'm questioning your timing." Something flickered in her eyes, recognition perhaps, or respect for his directness. 2 weeks in London. The flight leaves Thursday. I suggest you make arrangements for your daughter. She walked away before he could respond. That night, Clinton sat on the edge of Linda's bed watching her color in a picture of a rainbow. Her fever had broken over the weekend, and she was back to her usual energy, chattering about her teacher and her best friend Madison and the butterfly they had found on the playground. "Daddy has to go on a work trip," he said finally. Linda looked up, her brown eyes wide. "How long?" 2 weeks. The crayon stopped moving. Clinton watched his daughter process this information, her small forehead wrinkling in a way that reminded him painfully of Lisa. "That's a long time," Linda said quietly. "I know, sweetheart, but Mrs. Patterson will take care of you, and Grandma is going to come stay too. I'll call every single day. I'll text you good night every night, just like always." Linda considered this. "Will you still say I love you?" Clinton felt his heart squeeze. "Every single day, no matter where I am." She nodded slowly, then returned to her coloring. "Okay, but you have to bring me a present from London. Something really good." Clinton laughed, pulling her into a hug. "Deal." But later that night, after Linda had fallen asleep, Clinton stood in the doorway of her room and felt the familiar weight of guilt pressing against his chest. Lisa's voice echoed in his memory, the arguments about his long hours, her frustration that he was never present even when he was home. He had promised himself after her death that he would be different, that Linda would always come first. And yet here he was, leaving her for 2 weeks to chase a promotion he hadn't even asked for. The flight to London was overnight, and Clinton spent most of it unable to sleep. Kara sat 3 rows ahead in business class, her laptop open, her face illuminated by the screen. She hadn't spoken to him since the hallway conversation, and he wondered if the distance was intentional, a reminder that whatever had passed between them in her office was an aberration not to be repeated. But London changed things. The first week was brutal. Back-to-back meetings with potential partners, dinners that stretched past midnight negotiations that required every ounce of Clinton's expertise. Kara was relentless, pushing for better terms, refusing to accept anything less than complete victory. Clinton found himself both exhausted and exhilarated, challenged in ways his regular job never demanded. It was on the 6th night that everything shifted. The final meeting of the day had collapsed. A key investor pulled out at the last minute, citing concerns about the company's leadership structure. Kara had handled it with characteristic composure, but Clinton noticed the tension in her shoulders as they walked back to the hotel, the way her jaw remained clenched long after the boardroom doors had closed. "There's a bar on the corner," he said. "Looks quiet." Kara glanced at him. Are you suggesting we drown our sorrows, Mr. Thompson? I'm suggesting we debrief somewhere that doesn't smell like stale coffee and corporate anxiety. The ghost of a smile crossed her face. Fine. The bar was small and dimly lit, filled with locals who paid no attention to the two Americans settling into a corner booth. Kara ordered whiskey neat. Clinton asked for the same. For a while, they talked about the deal, what had gone wrong, what could be salvaged, alternative strategies for the remaining meetings. But as the whiskey warmed Clinton's chest, the conversation began to drift into unfamiliar territory. You mentioned your daughter's mother passed away, Kara said. How did you manage afterward? Clinton turned his glass slowly on the table. I didn't. Not for a long time. The first year was just survival, getting Linda to school, showing up to work, making sure the bills got paid. I didn't feel anything. I couldn't afford to. Kara listened without interrupting, her eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made Clinton feel simultaneously exposed and understood. Lisa and I had a fight that morning, he continued. Something stupid about groceries. I was running late for a meeting and she was frustrated because I was always running late for something. I didn't kiss her goodbye. I just left. He had never told anyone this. Not his mother, not his therapist, not the friends who had gathered around him in those dark first months. But something about the dim light and the whiskey and Kara's unwavering attention made the words spill out like water through a cracked dam. I spent 2 years convinced that if I had just stayed 5 more minutes, she wouldn't have been at that intersection when the drunk driver ran the red light. That somehow my impatience killed her. Kara's hand moved across the table, stopping just short of his. You know that's not true. I know it now, but knowing and believing are different things. The silence between them felt different now, not awkward, but intimate. Two people who had revealed more than they intended, standing on the edge of something neither fully understood. My mother used to say that love was a luxury, Kara said finally. That successful people didn't have time for sentimentality. She built her career on that philosophy and she expected me to do the same. Clinton met her eyes. Do you believe that? Kara didn't answer immediately. She looked down at her glass at the amber liquid catching the light, and when she spoke again, her voice was softer than Clinton had ever heard it. I used to. It made everything simpler. No attachments, no vulnerabilities, no one who could disappoint you or be disappointed by you. I built my entire life around that principle. And now, she looked at him then, and Clinton saw something in her expression that stole his breath, a loneliness so profound it seemed to have shaped her from the inside out. Now I'm 36 years old, and I've never had someone send me a text that said, I love you, not by accident, not on purpose, not ever. Clinton's phone buzzed on the table, a text from Linda. Good night, Daddy, I love you. He showed Kara the screen without thinking. She stared at it for a long moment, and when she looked up, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. She's lucky, Kara whispered, to have someone who loves her like that. Clinton felt something open inside him, a door he hadn't even known he was keeping shut. Linda once asked me if love makes people hurt. I told her yes sometimes, but I also told her that hurting because you love someone is still better than feeling nothing because you're alone. Kara turned away, but not before Clinton saw her shoulders tremble slightly. Neither of them spoke for a while, letting the noise of the bar fill the space between them. Later, walking back to the hotel, Clinton's phone rang. Linda's face appeared on the screen, a video call past her bedtime. Daddy, Grandma said I could call you because I couldn't sleep. Clinton held up the phone, smiling despite his exhaustion. Hey, sweetheart. What's wrong? Nothing. I just wanted to see your face. Kara had continued walking, but she stopped when she heard Linda's voice. Clinton watched her hover at the edge of the frame, uncertain whether to stay or go. Who's that behind you? Linda asked suddenly. Is that a lady? Before Clinton could respond, Kara stepped into view. Hello, Linda. Linda's eyes went wide. You're really pretty. Are you Daddy's friend? Something softened in Kara's expression. I'm his boss, actually. But I suppose I'm also his friend. Do you want to see my drawing? Linda was already scrambling off her bed, disappearing from the frame and returning seconds later with a piece of paper. I drew this today. It's our family. She held up the picture. Clinton had seen dozens of Linda's family drawings over the years, always the same two figures, one tall and one small, holding hands under a yellow sun. But this drawing was different. This time there were only two figures as well, but the composition had changed. The colors were brighter. The sun was bigger. That's beautiful, Kara said, and Clinton heard something genuine in her voice. Daddy says you're in London. Is it pretty there? It is, but not as pretty as your drawing. Linda beamed. When you come back, you should come to our house. Daddy makes really good pancakes. Clinton felt his face warm. Okay, sweetheart. It's way past your bedtime. Okay. Good night, Daddy. I love you. She blew a kiss at the screen. Good night, Daddy's friend. I love you too. The call ended before Kara could respond. She stood frozen on the sidewalk, the phone's glow fading from her face. She says that to everyone, Clinton said quickly. She doesn't mean... I know. Kara's voice was barely audible. But it's the first time anyone's ever said it to me. They walked the rest of the way in silence. The second week in London brought success, the deal closed, the partnership secured the board satisfied. But for Clinton, the victory felt hollow. Something had shifted between him and Kara, something neither of them acknowledged openly, but both felt in every glance, every accidental brush of hands over documents, every moment of silence that stretched too long. Clinton found himself looking for her in crowds, listening for her voice in meetings, counting the hours until they would be alone again. And every time he caught himself doing it, guilt crashed over him like a wave. One night, unable to sleep, he pulled out his phone and opened the photo of Lisa that served as his lock screen. Her smile was frozen in time, forever 34, forever young, forever the woman who had promised to grow old with him. Am I betraying you? He whispered to the empty room. Is this what moving on feels like? No answer came, just the hum of the hotel air conditioning and the distant sounds of London traffic. The next morning, Clinton began to pull away. He kept conversations professional, declined. Kara's invitation to dinner buried himself in final preparations for their return flight. He told himself it was the right thing to do, protecting himself, protecting Linda, protecting the memory of a woman who deserved better than to be replaced. Kara noticed. Of course she did. What's wrong? She asked, cornering him in the hotel lobby the night before their departure. Clinton shook his head. Nothing. Just focused on the work. Don't lie to me. You've been avoiding me for 3 days. He met her eyes, and the directness of her gaze made his careful walls feel paper-thin. I don't know what you want from me, Kara. I want you to be honest. The truth pushed against his teeth, demanding release. I'm not good enough for you. I'm a single father with a 7-year-old and a broken heart, and more baggage than any one person should carry. You're a CEO. You could have anyone. Why would you want someone like me? Kara's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shattered. You think I care about any of that? I think you should. She stepped closer, close enough that Clinton could smell her perfume, could see the rapid pulse beating at her throat. My whole life I've been told what I should care about. Power. Success, legacy. I've achieved all of it, and I've never felt more empty. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And then, I received a text message meant for a 7-year-old girl, and for the first time in years, I felt something. So don't tell me what I should want, Clinton. I'm tired of should." Clinton wanted to reach for her. Every instinct screamed at him to close the distance, to take her face in his hands, to kiss her until both of them forgot all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, he stepped back. "I can't," he said. "I'm sorry. I can't." He walked away before she could respond, and he didn't look back. The flight home was silent. Kara sat in her usual seat, laptop open as if nothing had happened. Clinton stared out the window at the clouds below and wondered if he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. 2 days after their return, the announcement came. The parent company in London had offered Kara a position regional chair for European operations. It was the pinnacle of her career, a role that would cement her legacy and put her among the most powerful executives in the industry. It also meant relocating to London for at least 3 years. Clinton heard the news from a colleague, delivered in the casual tone of office gossip. "Can you believe it? She accepted on the spot. Guess she was just waiting for the right opportunity to leave." The words hit Clinton like a physical blow. He sat at his desk, staring at his computer screen, unable to process what he had heard. She was leaving. He had pushed her away, and now she was leaving. That night, Clinton came home to find Linda waiting at the door with a piece of paper in her hands. "Daddy, look what I drew today." She held up the picture proudly. It was another family portrait, but this time there were 3 figures. A tall man, a small girl, and a woman with long dark hair, all holding hands under an enormous yellow sun. "Who's the lady?" Clinton asked, though he already knew. "That's Kara," Linda said matter-of-factly. "She's nice. I wanted her in our family." Clinton knelt down, pulling his daughter close. "Sweetheart, Kara's moving away. She's going to live in another country." Linda's face crumpled. "But why doesn't she like us?" Clinton had no answer. He held his daughter as she cried, and somewhere deep inside him, something that had been frozen for 3 years began to thaw. That night, after Linda fell asleep with tears still drying on her cheeks, Clinton sat alone in the living room and finally allowed himself to cry too. Not for Lisa, that grief had softened over time into something he could carry, but for something new, something he had glimpsed and lost before he even understood what it was. He cried for Kara, for himself, for the future that had flickered into existence for one brief moment before disappearing like smoke. And in the darkness of his empty house, Clinton Thompson finally admitted what he had been too afraid to say out loud: he had fallen in love. And now it was too late. The next 3 days passed in a blur of mechanical routines. Clinton went to work, attended meetings, answered emails, came home, made dinner for Linda, read her bedtime stories, and collapsed into a sleep that brought no rest. The office buzzed with talk of Kara's departure, farewell plans, speculation about her replacement, gossip about why someone at the peak of her career would suddenly accept a position overseas. Clinton said nothing. He kept his head down and counted the hours until she would be gone. On Thursday evening, Linda found him sitting alone at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. "Daddy, why are you sad?" Clinton looked at his daughter, at her concerned brown eyes so much like Lisa's, and felt his carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. "I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just tired." Linda climbed onto the chair beside him. "You're lying. You always look at the wall when you're lying." Despite everything, Clinton almost smiled. "When did you get so smart? Mama used to say I was smart like you." Linda reached out and took his hand in her small fingers. "Is it because of Kara? Because she's leaving?" The sound of her name hit Clinton like a blow to the chest. "How do you know about that?" "I heard you talking on the phone, and you've been sad ever since." Linda squeezed his hand. "Do you love her, Daddy?" Clinton wanted to deny it to protect his daughter from the complications of adult emotions, to maintain the simple world where Daddy was strong and steady and never uncertain. But Linda was watching him with that penetrating gaze, and he found he couldn't lie to her. "I think I might." Linda nodded slowly, as if this confirmed something she had already known. "Then why are you letting her go?" "It's complicated, sweetheart. There are things you don't understand." "Like what?" Clinton searched for words that would make sense to a 7-year-old. "Like, I'm scared. I loved your mommy very much, and when she died, it hurt so bad I thought I would never feel anything again. And now I'm feeling things for Kara, and I'm scared that if I let myself love her, I might lose her too. And I don't know if I can survive that again." Linda was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that stopped Clinton's heart. "Daddy, do you remember what you told me when Mommy died? You said that being sad about losing someone means you were lucky enough to love them, and that it's better to love and be sad than to never love at all." Clinton stared at his daughter. He remembered saying those words, remembered holding her tiny body as she sobbed for her mother, remembered believing them even as his own heart shattered. "You taught me that," Linda continued. "But now you're not doing it yourself. You're too scared to love Kara because you might lose her. But Daddy, what if you don't lose her? What if you just let her go because you're scared, and then you're sad anyway, but you didn't even get to love her first?" The logic was so simple, so pure, that Clinton felt something break open inside him. His 7-year-old daughter had just articulated what he had been unable to face for 3 years, that his fear of loss had become its own prison, keeping him from the very thing that could set him free. "When did you become so wise?" he whispered. Linda smiled, showing the gap where her front tooth used to be. "I learned it from you." That night, after Linda fell asleep, Clinton sat in the darkness of his bedroom and pulled out the photo of Lisa from his nightstand drawer. For a long time, he just looked at her face, the smile that had greeted him every morning, the eyes that had seen him at his worst and loved him anyway. "I need to talk to you," he said softly. "I know you can't answer, but I need to say this out loud." The house was silent. Outside, a car passed on the street, its headlights briefly illuminating the curtains before fading away. "I think I'm falling in love with someone, and I feel like I'm betraying you by even admitting that. For 3 years, I've been holding on to you so tightly that I forgot how to hold on to anything else. I've been so afraid of dishonoring your memory that I've been teaching our daughter that love is something to fear." Clinton's voice cracked. "But you wouldn't want that, would you? I remember what you said to me near the end when we didn't know the end was coming. You said if anything ever happened to you, you didn't want Linda growing up in a house without laughter, without love." He touched the photo gently. "I've been so focused on not replacing you that I forgot you can't replace someone you truly loved. Kara isn't a replacement for you. She's something new, something I never expected. And I think maybe that's okay." The photograph offered no response, but Clinton felt something shift inside him, a releasing of chains he hadn't even known he was carrying. "I'm going to try," he said. "I'm going to try to let myself love again. I hope that's what you would have wanted." He placed the photo back in the drawer and closed it gently. Then he looked at his phone. Kara's flight was scheduled for 11 o'clock the next morning. He had less than 12 hours. Clinton barely slept. At 6 in the morning, he woke Linda and explained that they were going on an adventure. "Where are we going?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "To the airport. Kara's leaving today, and I need to tell her something important before she goes." Linda's face lit up. "Are you going to tell her you love her?" Clinton pulled his daughter into a hug. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to try." The drive to the airport felt endless. Traffic was heavier than usual, and Clinton found himself gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. Beside him, Linda clutched a folded piece of paper in her lap, a drawing she had insisted on bringing. They arrived at 9:45. Clinton grabbed Linda's hand and ran through the terminal, scanning the departure screens for Kara's flight. Gate 37, International Departures. They pushed through crowds of travelers past security checkpoints until they reached the international terminal. And then Clinton stopped. Kara was there standing near the boarding gate with a carry-on bag at her feet. She wasn't looking at her phone or her boarding pass. She was standing completely still, staring at the departure board as if it held answers to questions she was afraid to ask. "Kara!" Linda's voice rang out across the terminal. Kara turned, and when she saw them, Clinton breathing hard from running, Linda clutching her drawing, her expression shifted from confusion to something Clinton couldn't quite name. "What are you doing here?" Kara asked as they approached. Before Clinton could answer, Linda broke free from his grip and ran to Kara. "Wait, don't go yet." She thrust the piece of paper toward Kara. It was the drawing, the one with 3 figures, a tall man, a small girl, and a woman with long, dark hair, all holding hands under an enormous sun. "I drew this for you," Linda said breathlessly. "See, that's me, and that's Daddy, and that's you. I put you in our family because I want you to stay. Please don't go to London. Please stay with us." Kara took the drawing with trembling hands. She stared at it for a long moment, and when she looked up, her eyes were bright with tears she was fighting to contain. "Linda, I don't know if I can... Please." Linda's voice was so earnest, so full of hope that even Clinton felt his heart ache. "Daddy's been so sad since you said you were leaving. And I know he loves you because he gets the same look he used to get when he looked at Mommy. I don't want him to be sad anymore. And I want you to come to our house and see Daddy make pancakes. He's really good at pancakes." Kara knelt down so she was at Linda's level. "Sweetheart, your daddy and we haven't... I love you." Clinton's voice cut through the noise of the terminal. Kara looked up at him frozen. "I love you," Clinton repeated, stepping closer. "I've been too scared to say it because the last time I loved someone, I lost her. And I convinced myself that keeping everyone at arm's length was the same as protecting myself and Linda. But my 7-year-old daughter just reminded me that I've been living by rules I don't even believe anymore." He took another step toward Kara, close enough now to see the rapid pulse beating at her throat the way her breath had gone shallow. "You asked me once what it felt like to have someone say those words and mean them. I couldn't show you then, but I can now. I love you, Kara. Not because you're powerful or successful or any of the things you've spent your life building. I love you because you let me see the loneliness underneath all of it. Because you looked at a drawing from a 7-year-old girl and cried. Because you're standing in this airport right now, about to leave everything behind, and you still haven't walked through that gate." Kara stood slowly, Linda's drawing still clutched in her hands. "Clinton, I accepted this position because I thought I had nothing here worth staying for. I've spent my entire life being told that love is a weakness, that attachment is a liability, that the only thing that matters is what you achieve. And I believed it because it was easier than admitting how empty I felt." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Then you sent me a text message by accident, and everything I thought I knew stopped making sense." Clinton reached out and took her hand. "Stay." "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be part of a family. I don't know how to love someone without trying to control everything around me." "Neither do I. But Linda's pretty smart. She can teach us both." Kara laughed, then a real laugh, raw and unguarded, and the sound of it broke something loose in the air between them. "I've never said this to anyone before," she whispered, stepping closer until there was almost no space left between them. "So I need you to understand what it means when I say it." She leaned in, her lips brushing against his ear, and whispered the words that changed everything. "I love you. You're the first person I've ever said this to. And I want you to be the last." Clinton pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in 3 years, he felt like he was finally coming home. Linda wrapped her arms around both of them, her small voice muffled against their legs. "Does this mean Kara's staying?" Kara looked down at the little girl who had drawn her into a family she never knew she wanted. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm staying." 1 year later, the evening ritual in the Thompson household had expanded. After dinner and homework and bath time, Linda would climb into bed and send her nightly text message to Clinton, even though he was usually just in the next room. "I love you, Daddy." Clinton would reply, "I love you too, sweetheart." And then a third message would arrive from Kara, who had negotiated a remote position with the board and never looked back. "I love you both. Good night." The text message that had once been Clinton's greatest mistake had become the foundation of something he never expected to find again, a family built on second chances, whispered confessions, and the courage to love even when it terrified you. Sometimes, in the quiet moments after Linda fell asleep, Clinton would look at Kara reading beside him in bed and marvel at how everything had changed because of 3 careless words sent to the wrong person. And sometimes late at night he would whisper to the memory of Lisa, "Thank you for teaching me that love is worth the risk." In the end, it wasn't the mistake that defined him. It was what he chose to do after. If this story touched your heart, you're not alone. We all carry fears about love loss and whether we deserve a second chance. But maybe, just maybe, the mistake you're afraid of making could be the beginning of something beautiful. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss another one. And leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever sent a message to the wrong person? Did it change anything in your life? Until next time, remember you are worthy of love. Always.